All right, we are back. Football by the Numbers, episode number 4. How are you guys doing?
Good. Well,
Doing great, Will. Thanks for asking. How about you, man? How are you doing? How's your week?
All good, all good. Can't complain too much. So in this episode, we're going to get into the start of the MLS season. We are 3 weeks in. We are going to talk about surprise teams in the table, our confidence level with our preseason picks, some...
oh,
Don't give up hope yet.
damn.
Some of us may be drowning more than others.
Where's the water level, guys? Mine's here.
Some standout players and a match to watch this weekend.
Definitely.
So how about we start with surprise teams in the table right now? Who has caught your eye? I mean, the East and Western Conference standings are totally wacky right now. What's for real, what's not? Let's start with you, John.
All right. So the team that I picked that actually in our preseason discussion, I don't think this was even on camera. Will, you and I were talking about this team. It's the San Jose Earthquakes. I believe they are in second in the West, if I'm not mistaken, right now, 3 games in. XG has them performing kind of a little bit above average, but right around as expected. So to break down a couple of their games and what XG is predicted versus what they've actually done. So their first game was away to the Houston Dynamo. XG had the game at 1.3 goals in favor of San Jose and 1.5 for the Houston Dynamo. And unfortunately, the San Jose Earthquakes were unable to come away with a draw, and they lost 2-1 away. And that's actually kind of surprising because you would think that being down 2-0 in the 55th minute, the San Jose Earthquakes would have put up more XG, especially since they're a possession-based side, and they were 2-0 down in the second half. So maybe they didn't really deserve to come away with anything in that game, and they got that 1.3 XG in the latter stages. But game 2, they really turned it around against FC Dallas. XG had it at 2.7 to 1.8, and they won 3-1. So their defense performed a little bit above average, but their offense was pretty much right on target. And then game 3 versus DC United, they destroyed. I don't know if you guys saw this game, but it was just it was majesty watching their offense just fire. So XG had the game at 1.5 to 1.6, so they predicted a draw. And DC United fell to the San Jose Earthquakes 4-1. And, it's a little bit surprising, Will. You and I were talking, and we said that they're a streaky team. We said that they have a lot of bed crapping potential was really high for them, to put it really in kind of blue collar terms here. But it's exciting. None of the projections that I had, I think, even had them close to second this early in the season. A lot of pundits had said, maybe 10th would be a decent place for them, and to even be talked about in this point in the season for how well that they're performing, I think really, really says a lot to their coaching and their style of play. So, but I want to hear what you guys have. Andrew, who do you think, what's your surprise team?
Well, I want to play off your choice real quick. I was reading an article earlier today that was talking about. I think they put it perfectly in perspective that those teams that can be streaky sometimes start out their seasons the absolute best because, I mean, what do you have to lose in the first 4 or 5 games? Nothing, especially when you're a young team and you have talent that's maybe never really been there or performed at that level. There's just such a high ceiling that sometimes the coaches are willing to let those players play a little bit more creative and have kind of more freedom to the way that they take their skill sets to the game, which I think we're seeing with San Jose right now. I mean, another great team that I think is really surprising me is Real Salt Lake. I mean, you watch them play. They were horrible last year. Horrible. And this year, it's like a whole 180. I mean, they're moving the ball beautifully. Somebody even quoted them that they're playing some of the best soccer in the United States. And it's true. I mean, they're stringing passes after passes during the game it's mind blowing. I mean, they've beat Minnesota 2-1 in their first game, which was my pick to do well this season, and then of course they come
Yeah,
out
everybody's
firing
beat
against
Minnesota.
Sporting Kansas City, which is, excuse me, sir, they're only 3 games in. They have time. But to beat Kansas City 3-1, that's a big statement game, especially right there in Real Salt Lake. It gives you some firepower to continue into this season to kind of see what you can have.
Yeah, and being second in the table in the West after just 2 games, even with the table kind of jumbled that it is. I'm sorry, I don't think that they're second. I think they're third or fourth,
No,
but they're high up in
no,
the
they're
table.
second. They're
Are they
second.
second? Then
I believe so.
San Jose's right there with them. But after 2 games,
Yeah.
I mean, they're the only undefeated team left in the entire MLS as far as like no draws and no losses are concerned. They're 100% win rate. So yeah, it's exciting to see.
Well, the even crazier thing to see about Real Salt Lake is the fact that their possession have been right around 50% in both of their games, which you wouldn't think of a young team or a team that was as low as they were at the beginning of last year to kind of come out and then this year and possess the ball to something that we haven't seen them do.
Do you think the offense can keep it up with Real Salt Lake? Because they have a stud up-and-coming goalkeeper in David Ochoa, so I think the defense will be all right.
I think the defense is going to do great. I mean, we've already seen it in the game. They've only allowed 2 goals in the past 2 games, coming against some pretty strong offenses. I mean, I would say Kansas City is a pretty high-scoring offense over the years, and then on top of it, you've got a goalkeeper like him to be your netminder. I mean, I don't really know where they're going to go offensively. It's like I said, it's going to be tough to see what some of these teams can do consistently once you get into 8-10 games of the season. But I mean, if they can continue to possess the ball that they're doing the way that they are, then it's going to be simple to have the offense come because the ball moves faster than the person. If you can control the ball, then you're going to control the game, which is going to allow you to have even better opportunities, especially with a keeper back there that can make the saves when you need the energy or make the saves and distribute the ball when you need to come out and build up. They've been doing some really great things the past 2 games.
Yeah, they really have. XG has them at 3.5 goals for, and about 2 goals against. So their defense has been performing. I mean, the defense is stellar. Just especially if they have 2 goals against in 2 games, that's not bad. And XG has them at 1.9. Will, I think you raise a great point. Is if Real Salt Lake can get their offense going and keep them overperforming to this level. I know we're only 3 games in, but at outperforming your XG in 3 games by 1.5 is a pretty big statement, and I think it's going to be an interesting thing to see both with San Jose and with Real Salt Lake if they can keep their offenses going. Will, what did you say? Who's your surprise team?
Yeah, I wanted to highlight Nashville, who hasn't been, results-wise hasn't been great. They're 9th place right now, just outside the playoff picture. But they're like the polar opposite team of what they were a year ago, where they had no offense, would just pack it in. Currently, they have the highest expected goals for on the season at 6.5 goals. And they are 4th in expected goals against at 2.9. And they've been very unlucky when you compare their actual goals scored and expected goals scored. I think they've been like the 3rd unluckiest team in the whole league. So I think things will turn around in that department. If we want to go through the games, the first 2 games, they completely dominated Cincinnati and Montreal. They just happened to get kind of 2 unlucky goals scored against them in both games. So they were trailing 2-0 in both and came back to earn draws.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game against Montreal. They were really dominant in that second half in the latter stages of the game, and to pull a game out. I mean, the 2.5 goals for as far as expected goals and 0.8 expected goals against. That was really disappointing not to see a result, and 3 points go their way. But that was a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, and the first game against Cincinnati they were expected to score 3.4 goals, and Cincinnati was expected to score 1.8. So and they had like over 30 shots on net. It was complete domination. But this past week they missed a great opportunity against Inter Miami, who was playing without the Higuain brothers, and there wasn't much offense either way from those teams. So kind of expected a 0-0 draw there. So I'm hoping Nashville can keep up this offense throughout the year. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be incredible if they can still put up like 30 shots a game and 2.5 or over 2 xG a game. I mean, that'd be something to see. I'd really love to see them come out and really bust some skulls in the league. And even if they don't make the playoff picture, it'd still be fun to see them like ruin other teams' playoff chances.
I think it'll be hard for them not to make the playoffs if they continuously put up 30 shots.
Definitely.
It's going to be almost impossible to keep a ball out of the net with 30 shots on goal.
Yeah, and we need to nuance this too with especially in the Montreal game that I watched and in the Cincinnati game, because they're down in the first half and they kind of have to play a little more aggressively, so that kind of skews the XG numbers. But I mean, against Montreal, 2.5 to 0.8. I mean, and they capped the ball in the opposition third too. So, I think those XG numbers might flatter them a bit, but again, to have that possession and just trap your opponent in the final third, I think even after they got that second goal against Montreal, they were still pressing and still pushing for the winner and for that 3 points. So they'll definitely be an exciting team to keep an eye on this year.
I agree.
Now, how about we get into our preseason picks and how confident we still feel about those picks 3 games in?
I'm completely confident. I want to jump in and get a little banter going here before we get too deep into this. I'm perfectly confident. Seattle Sounders, I believe, are first in the Western Conference. Raul Ruidiaz is the leading. Oh, he's not the leading goal scorer in the MLS or even in the West, because good old Chicharito Hernandez got a hat trick. This past was it this past
Talk
weekend
about a
or the weekend
performance.
before?
2 weeks
Talk
ago,
about a performance. 2 weeks ago, he was
lights out. He had a couple of lucky goals and rebounds in my opinion, but he still played extremely well. But I'm pretty confident. I called Atlanta United in the East, which I think they're like 4th or 5th, and
they're 5th.
They're 5th. So they have a tough draw in the CONCACAF Champions League, but having gone out 3-0 in the first leg to Philadelphia, it's something that I think might be getting to them. They're a little fatigued, they're a little tired, but once they fall out, I think it's pretty obvious and pretty. We're not surprising anybody or blowing anybody's hats out here by saying that they're probably going to fall to Philadelphia in the CONCACAF Champions League. So once they get that rest going, then I think that they'll come back and they'll be firing. And they were unlucky to pull a result against Orlando City, in my opinion, in the first week. But Seattle's off and running and firing. They don't even miss J-Mo at all. So at least it doesn't look like Raul Ruidiaz is just eating up those goals. So Andrew, what do you think sitting in the basement, man? How do you feel your picks are going?
They're not going good, bro. Minnesota's just basement dwelling it out, and Philadelphia is right there knocking on the door. They're like, guess what, Andrew? I mean, you can argue that Philadelphia, they played a really great game against Columbus Crew coming out in the first game in Columbus after they've won the title. I mean, that was a difficult game, and they were able to pull out a 0-0 draw, which I was excited about. But then they had to come in and stink it up against Miami.
Rip.
I mean, you can't expect to be in the top 8 if you're gonna play like they did against Miami.
Well, at least they have the CONCACAF Champions League. I think the coach came out and said that's going to be their main focus this year, and they really slapped Atlanta in that first leg of the quarterfinal. So
They did.
At least you have something to back up, some little barrier of success that I don't get to completely wipe the floor with your picks. But I'll take pride in my picks doing fairly well. Will, how are your picks doing? I think you picked Columbus Crew and LAFC, right?
Right. Columbus, kind of same boat, maybe slightly better than Philly right now. They've come out and gotten 2 draws, haven't scored any goals, haven't given up any. I mean, I don't think we can worry too much about any of these teams
Yeah.
still left in the CONCACAF Champions League. Um,
They're not playing their best lineups in the beginning of the season right now, and you can tell that.
And it's still playoff picture too. Like these teams they're not guaranteed because anything can happen in the world of football. But if we were to come out and say that, for example, in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich wasn't going to be in the Champions League contention, I think everybody would kind of roll their eyes. I think these teams are all playoff contention teams, except for Minnesota United. I think you just swung and missed really hard and came back and hit yourself in the back of the head, Andrew.
It came here, but you know what? Just watch. Be patient. Be patient. I'm relaxed.
I can see just squirming in your seat right there. I can see it. You're. I mean,
relaxed.
I'll eat my words if it comes to it. But sorry, Minnesota United fans, you're in the basement right now, and you're down there with FC Cincinnati.
Well, all I've got to say is that, I mean, they had some pretty good possession against Real Salt Lake. They lost to Seattle 4-0 away in Seattle. That's understandable. I mean, you don't want to see that many goals given up on your opener, but it's also understandable. Playing in Seattle is difficult. It's hard.
Yeah,
Got it. You came
tough
away
venue.
with, they had the most possession. They had 51% of possession against Seattle, so it kind of shows a little bit of their mental lapse in their defense. I feel like it hasn't been very strong the past couple of games. I mean, they came right after losing to Seattle 4-0. They then lose to Salt Lake 2-1. And again, they hold on to the ball longer. They have 55% possession. So it shows that they're just having like some type of disconnect between their defense that's allowing these teams to not have possession of the ball and still get quality opportunities.
Well, and they could come out of the gate really hesitant and not wanting to actually play super offensive football, right? So those possession numbers could be a little bit overstated with how they're doing because they could be coming out and instead of actually playing super offensive, aggressive possession-based football like a Man City or something would do, where it's high pressure, high offense, high possession, where they have the ball and they're constantly trying to press on goal. They could come out slow and just be playing hesitant ball or keeping the ball not for offense sake, but keeping the ball so that the other teams don't score against them. But I agree with you 100%. Their defense has really, really got to step up. And I know that Seattle's a hard venue to play at, but 4-0 is a blowout. I mean, that's an absolute blowout, and you got to do something.
Yeah, I agree. They got to find something that clicks, whether it's formation wise, whether it's just personnel wise, or it's changing the way you come at the game, like you said. Maybe they need to become more of a counterattack team. Maybe possession is not in their style. Maybe their players are going to be more suited for counterattack. That's kind of what the coaches get to kind of figure out in the first few games, is see what's going to work best for their teams, which is why yes, they're 0-3, but you never know what can change. It's early. There's a long season ahead of them. I have faith that they can pull out a quality couple games here in the next few weeks.
Nice. Well, it's a good positive attitude to have. I'll definitely be watching Minnesota.
Trying my best.
I'll be watching
Nowhere
Minnesota.
to go but up, right?
Yeah.
Nowhere to go but up. We can't go down any further. We're in the basement.
Well, guys, have there been any players so far this season that have stood out to you that you'd like to highlight? Andrew, how about we start with you?
Start with me. Oh, the player that's got my eye is Caden Clark over there at the New York Red Bulls. The dude, he ended last season awesome. I mean, on a high note, he didn't start many matches, but I'm pretty sure he came out with 3 or 4 goals in the last 8 or 10 games. And then you have him start this season. He's played 3 games and he's got 2 goals already. One of them this past weekend was a little bit of a breakdown on the defense. He kind of just got his studs up and was able to direct the ball into the net. However, I mean, Caden he's an attacking midfielder, so he's involved in almost every play possible. And it's great soccer to watch from him right now.
Yeah, that the 2 goals and the 7 shots that he's taken is really, and even the 5 on target from an attacking midfielder's perspective. He's done really well, and I'm eager to see him do some good stuff for the Red Bulls this year.
Likewise, John, who would you like to highlight?
So the theme for me today is going to be San Jose. It's going to be the earthquakes. It's going to be those mudsliders down there in Southern California. So I went with Cade Cowell, the 17-year-old number 9 for the San Jose Earthquakes. This dude has been crazy this year. First off, he looks like a full-grown man. He's 5'8", like 150 pounds, already looking like one of the studs on San Jose Earthquakes. And I think a lot of their offense really rests on him, and I'll show you why. He's averaged 7.85 over the 3 matches he's been in, which is outrageous. Those are Lewandowski numbers. Those are really killer numbers. In addition to that, he's got 2 goals and 3 assists, and those assists have been a thing of beauty. I mean, these things, his first assist of the season from the midfield and outside of the put curling pass to his teammate, just oh my gosh, I had to watch it over and over again on the Twitter video. It was so gorgeous. On top of averaging a 7.85 match rating, 2 goals, 3 assists, he's averaging 1.89 expected goals and assists per 90, which, of course, it's a little inflated because we're only 3 games into the season, and he's really been showing out. But his expected goals and assists for the season are 1.6. So he's really overperformed with 5 goals and assists on the season. Yeah. So this makes me think that it's kind of a hot streak, that he won't necessarily keep this up. But I mean, if he can keep slotting it into the back of the net. And one of the things that I really want to emphasize too is that it's not just, as a number 9, he's not just scoring the goals, he's creating the chances for his teammates as well, and that's so important for a number 9 to do. So in addition to that, he's got 8 shot creating actions, which is about 3 per 90 minutes. He's got 4 goal creating actions on the season, which is 1.5 per 90 minutes, and his goal creating actions are already double what he did last year. So I've got really high hopes for the 17-year-old out of San Jose.
Where do we think these young guys end up? Do we think they finish the season with their current MLS clubs, or do you think European?
No way. There's no way that Cade Cowell, if he keeps up these numbers, there's no way he stays in the United States.
Who do you think picks him up? Who swoops in?
I think he'll excel in Germany. I'd like to see him end up in a German club, especially to develop him
there, or like a championship side like Daryl DK went to, maybe a lower level Bundesliga side or a Bundesliga 2 side to help for a promotion push for like a Hamburg or a Dusseldorf or somebody like that. I'm sorry, not a Hamburg, a Hanover. We don't like Hamburg. But.
And then how about Caden Clark? You think he stays in the Red Bull system, Andrew? Makes the jump to Leipzig.
I think it's to TBD. I'm not positive. He's not as beneficial as over in San Jose because the offense isn't completely ran through him. He doesn't get involved in the games quite as much as I'd like to see from your midfielder. But I mean, he's a standout. He's a stud. It's just going to depend on if he can continue to kind of boost his stats outside of the goal scoring. Can he get a couple more assists? Can he move the ball a little bit better? Can he have some more key passes? He's not necessarily linking the passes together right now to kind of put his players in a scoring position, which you'd like to see out of your midfielder. So I think it depends on what the next couple of games look like for him.
I also want to shout out a one to watch, Will, if I can interrupt you real quick here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is kind of a corrections corner too from episode 1, because I said that there might have been like the next Alphonso Davies on I think it was Minnesota United. I said it's not Minnesota United. He's on Toronto FC, and his name is Jahkeele Marshall-Rutty. This dude has 1 assist for 16 minutes, but he's already apparently being monitored by like Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, a lot of these big clubs overseas, but he's only 16. So he obviously can't go over there for another 2 years. but he's definitely one to watch, and I'm excited to see what he does, especially if he really is the next Alphonso Davies. I'd love to see him over at Bayern Munich because we see how well Alphonso Davies is doing over there.
That's a good shout, John. I'll be watching him. All right, how about we pick a game this weekend? What is your?
Wait, Will, we gotta find out your player.
I went Nashville heavy this week, and I picked Randall Leal, who's had the most shots on target this season. He caught my eye in that Montreal game in the second half.
Yes.
He was just creating like
everywhere.
crazy. Yeah, he was serving great balls into the box to Nance, I believe, their new striker. Cadiz, Jhonder Cadiz. Yeah, he's had the most shots on target this season at 9. Expected assists, he's third at 1.6, and he's had 9 key passes on the season, which is also 6th. So yeah, he's had a really good year. He's a young Costa Rican national team player. I'll be watching him. Now, how about we get to
he's
our...
He's definitely exciting.
Yeah, for sure. How about we get to our match of the week?
MLS match preview. I don't know about you guys. I chose Real Salt Lake versus San Jose Earthquakes. I told you I was San Jose heavy this week, but that's the game I chose. What about? I mean, do you guys agree? Do you guys have a different game that you'd want to be watching?
I mean, I feel like you can't not have that be match of the week.
Right.
I don't think there's a better game to come this weekend besides seeing what San Jose is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, so I looked at the betting odds and the stats. It looks like Real Salt Lake, according to 538, which is like the big political watchdog they do sports too, but they have Real Salt Lake has a 48% chance of winning versus San Jose Earthquakes. It looks like some people have drawn up expected goals for them too. It looks like Real Salt Lake might win 2-1 with XG at 1.83 for Real Salt Lake and San Jose at 1.1. I'm going to say that if the Real Salt Lake team, the Real Salt Lake defense can hold up Cade Cowell, keep him from creating and keep him from scoring, and David Ochoa can save all that, then I think it'll be a game to watch.
I think the benefit that Real Salt Lake have is their possession. The longer they can keep the ball, the least likely the ball is going to be ending up in his feet.
Definitely. And San Jose too is a possession heavy team. I mean, they've averaged, between 50 and 60% possession for all of their games. So whichever team has the ball the most, I think could end up the winner.
Agree. I do have. Oh, go ahead, Will.
I was just going to say, if you were a betting man, John, would you put your money on the underdog there with your San Jose Earthquakes, who you love so far, or are you sticking with the favorite here?
I think I have to. I mean, San Jose are just so overperforming on offense that I think I might have to put some.
All right, John, put $5.
I got you, man.
Real Salt Lake, that's who I got.
You heard it here, folks.
$5 right here. I'll buy you some lunch.
Oh, sounds good.
I think there's 2 other games that we kind of have to mention, though.
Yeah.
We've got Nashville versus New England. New England is first in the table, correct?
Correct.
So I think this is a game that Nashville needs to come out on top. I think it's going to be exciting. Nashville's going to be pushing heavy. They're scoring machine right now. I think if they can continue to keep putting shots on net and can really take New England out of the game quick, it's going to be an exciting game to watch.
Definitely.
The second game is the LA Galaxy.
Oh, that's not what I had. That was not what I would have expected.
LA Galaxy versus LAFC. I mean,
of course.
You got the neighborhood teams going right at it. It's. I personally have been to a game, and let me tell you, they cut the stadium in half. LAFC's on this side, Galaxy's on this side, and you do not, in all means necessary, do not get to cross the stadium. My brother and I had to buy 2 T-shirts so that we could go back and forth. Because the hatred there is insane. It's an atmosphere I've never recognized before in my life. It's insane.
All right, so before we get on too quick onto these other matches, I do want to shout out one other game. and that's the Orlando City NYCFC game. It's the Battle of the East. This is really like a 6-point game, in my opinion, meaning that these teams are so close to each other in the league that this could be like a position-defining season of who gets higher up in the MLS Cup playoff, as far as seeding is concerned. So even though this is early on in the season, I think this is a really big game, and this is a 6-point game. Will, what's the episode you're going to be tuning into this weekend?
I mean, you guys threw out some great matches. I think what catches my eye is the San Jose versus Real Salt Lake. Like which team is for real? And you got two young star players in Cade Cowell and David Ochoa. I can't wait to watch those two guys.
Yeah, let's see who comes out on top. The goalkeeper versus the striker, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Let's see if the force can move the object. And I can win $5.
Well, guys, I think that'll do it for this episode of Football by the Numbers, unless you guys have any other last-minute parting thoughts.
Yeah, so if you haven't done so already, make sure to leave a like, comment down below what match you guys will be watching this weekend. Who do you think will win? Is Andrew right to be wrong about, or right to be optimistic about Minnesota United? Are they going to stay in the basement? Yes. Is John going to win $5 this weekend? Who do you think's going to win the match?
Whoa. Is Andrew going to win $5? I'm going to get me a sandwich, guys. Don't you worry. I'm a Mac on this sandwich.
And then
Real Salt Lake, bring it home for me. Bring it home.
And then if you haven't done so already, go and check out our MLS predictions. We went over it a little bit in this video, but if you want to get more in depth on that, go check out our first video. If you haven't heard already, learn about the European Super League in episode 3. And then if you really would care about international football and the Champions League and how it stands enough to watch our Super League video, go and see why PSG should not have been the one losing to Man City. And it should have been Bayern beating Man City this week. Now they have a 57% chance to win the Champions League. It should be Bayern repeating. Go and watch our second video on that.
Well, awesome, guys. This was a pleasure. And we will talk to you guys again.
It's always a pleasure to talk soccer. Yeah. Always.
We'll see you guys next time. I'll be $5 richer. Thank you, guys.
You'll see me with a sandwich. Watch, guys. You've seen it here.
Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, Will. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Will. John, it's on, man.